And so when you moved to London, whereabouts, where did you move to?
When I came to London, like when you've just moved, it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Although I've been before on holidays, but
Yeah.
it's different to moving to
Yeah.
reality. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, yes, I really wanted to come, but I'm here. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Where am I going to start? But I remember I lived in South London, Clapham.
Clapham.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
I lived in Clapham, and then for me, like I said, once I know what I want to do,
Yeah.
I go for it.
Yeah.
I remember I had to apply to so many hospitals because I trained back in Nigeria. Coming here, I have to do what we call adaptation course, so that
It's
I
like a
can
conversion
get
course
yes.
almost, yeah.
So I remember then we're talking about 30 something years ago, 85. I had to write to so many hospitals to kind of inquire if I can do the adaptation course. I wrote to about 100 hospitals.
Oh wow. And I guess in that time it was physical writing. It wasn't like
yes,
online, yeah.
definitely. It was physical writing,
Yeah.
and I love writing. I love reading as well.
Okay.
So I just was just writing and writing,
Yeah.
sent to about hundreds hospitals. Fortunately, got 5 positive responses,
Yeah.
and I was able to go to Addenbrooke Hospital in Cambridge. So I
Okay.
was in Addenbrooke Hospital in 85 to 86, where I did my adaptation course. And the adaptation course was meant to be for about 6 months, but after 3 months, the then matron signed me off saying, gosh,
Okay.
you're
You know
okay,
what you're
and
doing,
you
yeah.
can. So then I came back to London
Okay.
to look for a job, and then I went to do my midwifery at North Middlesex Hospital in
Oh, in
Edmonton.
Edmonton, yeah.
And then after that, I went to do my BSc in Women's Health at King's University
King's
of
College, yeah.
London. And then I did my master's at King's as well. So did my
Okay.
master's in health promotion, health education.
Okay. A lot of education.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking, though, just almost to take a step back, just the experience moving from Nigeria? I don't know where you moved to in Clapham, and I know at that time the Brixton riots were maybe 5-6 years after that.
Yes,
So I
it
know
was.
that there was like a lot of racial tension in that general area. What was it like moving, being this Nigerian? Given what your dad did, I'm assuming from a position of relative wealth, quite comfortable. What was it like now moving to London, dealing with English people, if you could tell us what the new world was like, and
Yeah,
almost paint a picture of Clapham at the time
really
as well.
different,
Yeah.
challenging cultural shock to
Yeah.
me, where it's like you had all your siblings, you had your families with you. All of a sudden, you're just on your own
Yeah.
to make a decision.
Did you
then,
move with anyone? Or?
I think I lived, I'm trying to remember. I think I rented a room, or I was living. First, I lived with some cousin, then I had to move to rent a room. And the shock was like,
Yeah,
oh my
I can
God,
imagine.
you're on your own.
Yeah.
What do you do? Nobody to help you to make a concrete decision, and you're just left on your own to make this decision. And the challenges were there. Yes, I had my father and my parents back home or wherever my dad traveled to then with work supporting, but it was really shocking to me, the shock.
Yeah.
And obviously you had to quickly adjust
Yeah.
and make the most of the environment. Yeah.
Okay. I guess to go back to your career now, so what sparked your interest in FGM in the first place? As far as I know, it's not a common practice in I know Lagos is in Yoruba land. It's not common amongst Yoruba people. I don't know about the rest of Nigeria. So what kind of sparked your interest? How did you get into it in the first place?
Right. Going back to how I started, or when my interest grew around FGM, was back in Nigeria actually, when I was doing my training at LUT. Then I had lots of friends always say to me, oh, my cousin died from FGM, from hemorrhage, excessive bleeding. And some would say my sister died. And then I didn't know what FGM was at all, because my family didn't practice it. And I remember I came home to my grandma from uni one day, and I was sat with her and said, Grandma, what is FGM? And she looked at me thinking, what are you on
Yeah.
about? I had to explain to her. I was so disappointed because you feel like your grandmother is so wise
Yeah,
and she has
yeah, and would
knowledge.
know all about
She
it.
didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Then I thought, I need to know more. And that's
Yeah.
how I started looking into it. And when
Okay.
I came to England, obviously, working at Guys and no, sorry, Guys and St Thomas's was later, but working at Edmonton, North Middlesex Hospital, I was so fortunate that I had a Sudanese doctor that came from Sudan to do his elective practice,
Okay.
and I knew then that FGM was prevalent in Sudan, very high prevalence in Sudan, and I used to sit down with him, had heavy argument and chat with them as to why what's really how will I what drives people, what
Yeah.
drives families to mutilate their daughters.
Yeah.
So we used to have heated debate
Discussions, yeah.
around that, and fortunately he had a clinic that he was running then, because then we had a lot of Somali families in Tottenham in the 80s, and he was caring for them. And I used to, on during my days off, I used to go to his clinic just
Oh, like
because
to
of my
volunteer and
interest,
learn,
just
yeah.
volunteering. Little did I know that 10-15 years
Years ago,
later
this would birth
this
into.
experience will be so useful. So
Yeah.
that's how I started growing my interest, then did lots of research around it. And also, when I was doing my women's health and my master's and my BSc, I did most of my dissertation on FGM.
Okay.
And also, I've traveled to so many African countries like Somaliland to do research to find out what really drives the communities and the family, especially, to perform FGM. Because what I can't get my head around is, you as a mother, you've been
Yeah.
through FGM, you know the consequences, you know the psychological, the physical, the mental health issues around FGM, and you still want to put your daughters
Through that.
through it. I just couldn't get
So
it.
what was the why do people do that?
There are so many reasons put forward for FGM. Culture is the big one. Tradition. People believe, well, it's my tradition. I have to conform, it's my culture and all that. And what we say is, yes, we do have beautiful cultures in Africa, but FGM is one that we really, really need to work out to eradicate
rid of.
or end, to get rid of FGM. And the other big one is religion. People always think FGM, as a good Christian or as a good Muslim,
I see.
you
And
have
how
to.
do they tie that? Like, what's that got to do with Christianity or
Well,
Islam?
it's not in the Bible, it's not in the Quran, and that's the argument. You know how we like to hide behind religion,
Yep,
saying, "Oh
definitely.
well, the Bible say this, the Quran say this," but working very closely with religious leaders, and we now know that FGM has no base with religion. It's not in the Quran, it's not in the Hadiths, it's not in the Bible, but some will argue and say it's in the weak Hadith. So it's got nothing to do with religion. And the other big one again is for marriageability. As a parent or as a community, you want your daughter to marry well. And for your daughter to marry well, one of the requests within the community is
that they've
she has
had-
to be cut.
I see.
So again, that drives that. And the other thing we found out in Nigeria, you did say the Yorubas don't perform FGM. They do.
Okay.
The Ondos,
Oh yeah.
the Akures,
Yeah.
and
grandmas
then and then it's the other thing is, as a Nigerian myself, lots of my friends tend to shy away from it, say they don't practice FGM in
Yeah.
Nigeria. They do.
Yeah.
We were in Nigeria about 2 years ago to do a scoping visit, and I'm telling you, Ebonyi State performs FGM.
Yeah.
Some part in Igbos that perform FGM. So it is still there, but
yeah.
maybe not much in the cities, but
Yeah,
still in
but
the
certainly,
rural
I
areas.
see.
Yeah.
I see.